Property tax season is approaching, and Travis County officials have a warning for those preparing to pay them. Why they're advising you to pay online instead of through the mail. Plus, one city in Williamson County is seeing an explosive growth in population. Its plans to tackle this growth.
And a red flag warning now in effect for the Hill Country, Gillespie County, Llano County, Mason County, and San Saba. I'll tell you what that means and what the conditions are right now. That's coming up in your first warning weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
A national day of mourning will happen after the death of the country's 39th president. Thanks for joining us. I'm Will Dupree. This weekend, Jimmy Carter died at the age of 100. President Joe Biden said that January 9th will be the day of Carter's state funeral in Washington. The Carter Center confirmed the former president's passing Sunday, sharing that Carter died in his hometown of Plains, Georgia. Carter dedicated his life after leaving office to brokering international peace. He was recognized internationally after his presidency for that tireless work promoting peaceful resolutions to conflict and advancing democracy, human rights, and social justice. Efforts done primarily through the Carter Center, which he and his wife, former First Lady Rosalind, established at Emory University in Atlanta in 1982. Meanwhile, the impact of his work with Habitat for Humanity continues right here in Travis County. The Rosalind and Jimmy Carter project is set to help with construction on the Whisper Valley development in the eastern part of the county next year. According to Habitat for Humanity, Whisper Valley is meant to be the first geothermal neighborhood in the country, meaning that homes will feature geothermal heat pumps and solar panels and be designed to generate more energy than they consume. Habitat is launching that work project in October of next year.
First warning weather.
As we come up on the noon hour at 12:02, we look out live right now over downtown Austin, and what a beautiful day it's shaping out to be. Some blue skies out there, temperatures warming up as well. But we also want to talk about something else that's happening out there. So we want to check in with meteorologist Freddie Veled now. And Freddie, I'm looking back here at your map, and those conditions right there, we really want to pay attention to these.
Yeah, especially if you're within these four counties, and really anyone within Central Austin or Central Texas. You can see that a red flag warning is now in effect. I'm going to take you through each one of these categories and the reasoning on why this red flag warning is now in effect. First off, the winds, and second, the humidity. Those are going to be the main factors on why we'll continue to see this red flag warning in effect for San Saba, Mason, Llano, and Gillespie County. First, look at our current relative humidity. Anything you see in this white or brown, that is dry. Very, very, very dry conditions. And who are the four that are the driest right now? Those four that I just mentioned: San Saba, Mason, Llano, and Gillespie County, with also dry conditions starting to extend just a bit. Lampasas, Burnett, Marble Falls, getting down towards Blanco. It's a dry line that moves over, it shifts, and that allows for the drier conditions to filter in. And then in the evening hours, that dry line moves right back out towards the west. Take a look at current wind gusts right now. This is also a bit of concern. Where do we see the strongest winds? Within these four counties, seeing wind gusts between 20 and 30 mile per hour, and even stronger than that as well. Mason County, 32 miles per hour at this point. So a lot of conditions going on there. This is a live look out of our Whittlesey Landscape Supplies camera in southeast Austin at this time. Dry, clear, and sunny. All those things just not working in our favor overall. And that's not just for that's pretty much for everyone. Excuse me. That's what I meant to say. Look at temperatures as well. 82 in Llano, 84 in Fredericksburg, 82 in San Saba, Marble Falls at 80, Austin at 82, a little bit different. They have that urban heat island effect there, which is why they're a bit warmer than all the other cities around it. So as we look at our records for today, I just mentioned Austin was at 82. Our record for the day itself is 83 degrees, and that was set back in 1951. We're going to break that. Record low was 16. We're not going to break that in record rain. There's no rain in sight right now for the next couple of days. So coming up, we're going to be talking about the hot day, the multiple fronts on the way that'll help take our temperatures down, and ringing in the new year. I'll talk about all that in your first warning weather.
Freddie, thanks so much. All that dry weather that he just talked about is raising concerns. The Texas Division of Emergency Management announced that it is activating additional state wildfire response resources. Increased wildfire danger is expected across the western half of the state today. More than 160 firefighters and support personnel are set to help, along with 35 pieces of equipment like fire engines and bulldozers and 9 firefighting aircraft. If you're getting ready to pay your property taxes, you may want to do it online instead of by mail. The Travis County Tax Office says it's seen an uptick in property tax checks stolen out of the mail.
Over the past several years, we've seen more property tax checks stolen out of the mail. And so paying by e-check is certainly a more secure way to pay the property taxes, and you'll get an immediate receipt knowing that you paid on time.
The U.S. Postal Inspection Service says criminals will steal checks out of the mail, a practice called check washing. That's when fraudsters alter the payee names and often the dollar amount on a check and then deposit them. Now, if you're going to mail your check, the Postal Inspection Service recommends depositing it in the outgoing collection box before the last pickup so that it's not sitting there for a long period of time, or just drop it off at your local post office. It's also asking you to use a gel pen to write out any checks. Those have ink characteristics that are more difficult to remove from a check. In the coming months, credit card debt for Americans is set to hit record amounts. According to the National Retail Federation, between November 1st and December 31st, spending is on track to reach a new record, between $979 billion and $989 billion. Other reports found many shoppers depended on credit cards to manage their holiday purchases. Now, there is another holiday spending report that showed 28% of credit card users had not paid off the gifts that they bought last year. Credit cards remain as one of the most expensive ways to borrow money. The average credit card interest rate is currently more than 20%. The city of Georgetown is one of the fastest growing in the country, expanding by about 11% from 2022 to 2023. Because of all that growth, the school district there is already planning for the future. It broke ground on a new elementary and middle school, which will be done by fall of 2026. And it's set to break ground on a new high school in March. That'll be the district's third high school, and realtors say that the city is popular for families because of home prices.
The average home price as of last month was approximately $433,000, which is significantly less than what you would see in Austin, kind of closer to the city.
We thought we were going to have 13,743 kids when this school year began, and we actually have 13,920 students.
Back in 2022, more than 86,000 people lived in Georgetown. By 2023, that number jumped to more than 96,000. Going in depth here, Georgetown was one of 3 cities in Central Texas that saw some of the largest population growth in the state. According to the financial technology company Smart Asset, New Braunfels took the top spot for biggest population increase in Texas, followed close by with Georgetown and Round Rock. Happy Monday, everybody, and thanks again for joining us on KXAN News at Noon. The time is 12:12. Send out a good luck wish on that time. All right, everybody, look outside right now from Circuit of the Americas. Beautiful conditions out there. Temperatures warming up as well, but there are some dangers to watch for, and because of how dry it's been for us, we'll get an update about that with Freddie in just a few moments. Now, for retailers out there, the busy season does not end on Christmas Day. The difference now is that customers are not necessarily buying, they're returning. As Alexi Sutter explains, the return rate is spiking due to social media trends.
9 times out of 10, there's always something that needs to be returned, and then you wait in the return line.
According to data from Salesforce, holiday shoppers spent an estimated $281 billion online this year, and that's a record-breaking number.
Overall, shoppers came out to spend. They did, and retailers saw a huge boost from online shopping this year.
Data shows 20% of people made purchases through social media apps like TikTok and Instagram. And because of the ease of buying online, new trends in shopping are harming retailers' bottom line. First, the try-on haul.
They buy a lot, they try it on, and then they send back what they don't want, which ultimately what we saw for the season was a 36% year-over-year increase in return rates this season, which not great news for the retailer.
And the second trend is called bracketing.
You buy a size above and a size below your normal size, and then you wait till you get it, you try it on, you see which size fits, and then you send back what doesn't. This, unfortunately, is a practice that hurts the bottom line for retailers because it's expensive to send merchandise back and then put it back on the shelf.
Shoppers we spoke with admit to both practices.
A lot of times I just order a bunch of different sizes just to see what fits me best and then return what doesn't.
But ultimately, experts say the cost of rising returns is a cost that will be passed on to the consumer.
We try to be more ethical. We only return things if we don't like them or if they're not really our style.
All right, I've definitely done that before. Ordered 2 different sizes just to see what might fit and sent back the other one. So part of the problem, I guess.
You know what's a good way to avoid that? Just don't buy it.
Save some money. Be mindful about that too. Or you could go in person, you know.
There is that too, yeah. Well, yeah, come on. There's Austin stores. You can get out there.
That's the perfect sense. The workaround for that, just go in person. I mean, there's lots of places to go and do that.
That is true. I've been visiting a few places. I really like it. But as I'm driving around, it's going to be hot outside today.
I know.
Got to prepare for that. In fact, we now have a wildfire danger risk back up one more time to a Category 5, which is extreme. This is from Texas A&M Forest Service. And as you can tell, Mason County in the deep, deep red here. That's the highest that you can go with San Saba, Llano, Fredericksburg, or Gillespie County in the very high category compared to the high category for Lampasas, Burnett, and Blanco County, and then everyone else within the moderate or low. Why? What's happening? Well, there's a dry line in the area, and that's shifted over just a bit from the west to the east. And that's just dry, dry, dry air that all moves over and unfortunately encompasses all of the western portion of the state of Texas. So a red flag warning that's now in effect for San Saba, Mason, Llano, and Gillespie County with wind speeds and gusts up to 20 to 30 miles per hour, humidity dropping between 9% and 15%, and it's already there, and that's why we're continuing to see that overall. So dry and windy ideal for wildfires. Be careful out there. Avoid any activities that can cause any sparks like power tools, lawn mowers, and of course, don't discard cigarette butts outside. Follow all the rules from your local fire department right now. Look, Georgetown is looking gorgeous, but it's hot. On top of the fire or red flag warning that's in effect, we also have temperatures that are possibly going to surpass and break records out there for a majority of the area. Clear skies for all of the state of Texas, including right here in Central Texas itself, with temperatures already up to 82 degrees. We are 1 degree shy from breaking the record out at Camp Mabry. Dripping Springs at 80 degrees, Marble Falls at 80 right now, Llano at 82, Fredericksburg at 84 degrees, much warmer than what we're seeing in Austin. In fact, the majority of this area feeling much warmer and drier and just not as nice outside as we've seen the past couple of days. Thankfully, it's only for today, but it's still a very, very hot day out there. And on top of all that, we look at pollen count. Cedar, mold in the high category. So while we're not expecting anything crazy for today, I mean, there's still a lot going on, trending upward on both cedar and mold. Play this out a bit more. There is a front after all is said and done today. By the end of the day, a front comes in and it'll drive down our temperatures. And then from the very hot conditions we're seeing today, we're getting closer to average, and then we'll drop down again for the new year and finally get to average itself. In fact, as we look at your New Year's forecast, as you're ringing in the new year itself at midnight, around 47 degrees by New Year's Day, around 61 degrees. We'll see a few clouds out there, but overall should be fine. By the way, as we get into Saturday and Sunday, we have another front that's going to start moving in Sunday into Monday. Ahead of that, rain chances on Sunday, so keep an eye on that. We're keeping a 20% chance there, and then that front finally it filters through. So a little bit of an up and down here. Record for today, cool for tomorrow, just above average, below average as we get to Wednesday, back up above average as we get out towards Thursday. By Friday, we're looking at 65 degrees. Saturday, there's that 10% chance right there. Sunday, 20% chance of rain with 73 degrees. And then I mentioned that front coming in Sunday, going into Monday. A little preview on Monday. Our high that day could be in the mid-50s. Will?
Well, welcome back, everybody, and thanks again for joining us. Ringing in the new year this week can come with setting some new goals, like maybe eating healthier, exercising more, or learning something new. But those resolutions can sometimes get off track. We've all been there before. Today, we are joined by a guest who has some advice about how to stay committed to these changes in 2025. So this afternoon, let's bring in Dr. Efrat Lamondre, who is a PhD and a certified family nurse practitioner. Dr. E, thank you so much for joining us. It's very nice to see you.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to start it with this. So with any resolution that someone might set out there, and of course we have all been there, you are advising people to make their goals specific. What are some ways to do that, and how could that help us stick to something better?
Absolutely. Vague goals like, I just want to get healthier, they're actually really hard to achieve because it doesn't tell our brain what to do. So instead, we want to choose really specific actions like, I'll drink 8 cups of water a day. I'll cook at home 3 nights a week, because being specific helps your brain connect to the goal and it helps you track your progress.
Yeah, I think that's so important to keep in mind because, as you said, sometimes those vague promises of I want to do this are a little hard to do. But what else would you suggest to someone who is setting out to make, say, a significant change immediately? Is that realistic at all?
No, I love that you asked that question. It's not realistic. Immediate is not realistic, but also perfect is not realistic, right? Because there's no such thing as perfect. And if you're going to focus on immediate or perfect, it won't work out. So instead, you want to focus on the progress. You want to start small, walk 10 minutes a day, and then you build from there. Because the research actually shows that small, consistent changes over time are actually more manageable and more successful than trying to overhaul everything at once.
Yeah, it's almost better at building some sort of patterns that you can keep up throughout the year.
100%.
Yeah, another part of this, I think, might be accountability. You are stressing that it's important to help you stick to a resolution. How do you think that could work in practice? What are some ways that maybe you can find that accountability partner?
Love that question. People are 3 times more likely to stick to their resolutions when they have accountability. Now, sometimes it's a friend or a coach, but let's not forget that sometimes it's an app, right? Having an app that reminds you, hey, you're on a streak, that could really help you stay consistent and motivated and keep you accountable.
Now, what about celebrating milestones? Because as we are pursuing these different resolutions, these goals, we want to be able to say, you know what, I did that and I was consistent about it. What are some of the ways that you think might be a good way to reward yourself?
Sure. And we don't celebrate our milestones, or we're always looking at what's next. And we tend to be motivated in the beginning, and that motivation fizzles out. And part of that is because we don't celebrate the wins. So celebrating the wins, it's not just about feeling good. It rewires your brain to keep going. So take a moment to be like, oh yeah, I did that. Like a little internal high five, whether you complete like a week of workouts in a row or resist a snack. Because remember, it's not just about patting yourself on your back. It actually continues that motivation well into the new year.
Now, with your own self, and just speaking personally, do you have any resolutions for yourself? Do you normally go down that route for yourself? Because I try to do that sometimes, like maybe read a book a month, or I even cut out sodas. When I was a junior in high school, I stopped drinking sodas, and that was my resolution, and I have stuck to that for quite some time now.
Wow.
But I'm wondering about what does it take for you to go down that path and take that journey?
So for me, I really focus on finding the why. Like, why am I doing anything? Why am I doing it? So when you find your why, it really helps figure out your goal. So whether it's, I want to have more energy. For me personally, I want to make sure my brain is in great shape as I age. So when you find your why, then you can have different habits to help it along, but it also helps you kind of get out of bed and do the thing when you're really focusing on the why instead of what.
I think that's a really nice place to end it, because hopefully that will inspire people to identify their why, take that path, and stick to it.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Thanks again for sticking with us here on KXAN News at Noon. I'm Will Dupree. Reactions are pouring in today after the death of the country's 39th president, Jimmy Carter. His family says that the former president died Sunday afternoon surrounded by his family. Washington correspondent Vinay Simlot explains how the former president is being remembered.
At 100, Jimmy Carter was the longest living American president. He and his wife Rosalind were married for 77 years, the longest presidential marriage. Reactions are pouring in from here in Washington and around the world. A peanut farmer, a naval officer,
so help me God,
and the 39th president of the United States.
Millions of people all around the world, all over the world, feel they lost a friend as well.
A friend to millions. Jimmy Carter died Sunday afternoon in his hometown of Plains, Georgia.
Here's a man who committed his whole life to service.
In office, Carter created the Departments of Education and Energy. But with inflation challenges at home and the Iranian hostage crisis abroad, Carter lost re-election.
He has done more good for the world since he served as president than any previous president in history.
In 1982, Carter and his wife Rosalind opened the Carter Center to promote democracy and human rights around the world. The Carters also championed Habitat for Humanity, helping volunteers build, renovate, and repair more than 4,000 homes. Carter won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002, more than 2 decades after he left office. And he taught Sunday school well into his 90s at his local church in Plains.
He never stopped being a Sunday school teacher.
Carter's last public outing was a funeral for his wife of 77 years, Rosalind. President Joe Biden says they are reunited once again. President Joe Biden has ordered an official state funeral. He's also declared January 9th as a national day of mourning. Flags nationwide will be flown at half staff, just like they are here at the Capitol. In Washington, I'm Vinay Simlat. Back to you.
First warning weather.
Back here at home, we want to show you a live look now over downtown Austin, where the conditions are pretty nice out there. Blue skies, temperatures warming up as well. The one thing I want to note, though, meteorologist Freddie Vela is here. It is not cold, and we have not seen it get very cold here in quite some time.
There's a difference between seeing the cold that we see in the hill country to the cold that we see in the metro. It's easier for the hill country to see the temperatures fluctuate a bit more compared to the metro. So Camp Mabry, I'm looking at you because at this point, we look at the latest first freezes for the season. And when I talk about season, I mean starting off during winter and then moving through a meteorological winter. November 1st is when we start to see that. But you're noticing that there's really no first freeze on here that starts off before or after, before December 29th. We're already at this point. So we haven't seen a freeze just yet, and we're already going to start cracking this. In fact, I don't see any freezing even as we reach January 2nd, which is just in a couple of days. By January 4th, I don't see freezing. Could we actually make it to the number 2 category? That is a strong possibility, and one that I feel we're going to break. Hey, speaking of cold, it's going to be cold in Atlanta in case you're already thinking about heading out there. Texas taking on Arizona State. This is going to be the weather for Atlanta itself for the Peach Bowl. Kickoff 46 degrees for the halftime 49 degrees. I have some really cool stats about the game, by the way. This is the second ever clash between Texas and Arizona State. Texas is favored to win right now. They do have the best defense in the country, but the Sun Devils actually have great offense. And the last time that these two went head-to-head, Texas won that game. So very interesting. In fact, there's other games that are going to be happening on January 1st. The Rose Bowl game, that'll be in Pasadena, and the Sugar Bowl game, that's going to be in New Orleans as well. So a lot going on. Here's a live look at our Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center in South Austin. A beautiful sky, and this is what we continue to see with temperatures right now at 82 in Austin, 78 in San Marcos, Fredericksburg at 85, Georgetown at 80, and Bastrop at 75. Pretty much everyone is seeing the clear skies, but remember, we do have that red flag warning in effect for the hill country. I'm going to talk about what the conditions are right now, the multiple fronts that we're going to be seeing coming in, and what you can expect for the new year. That's in your first warning weather.
Freddie, thanks so much. We now want to show you some of the damage left behind by tornadoes that touched down near Houston. Several homes got destroyed when a tornado struck between Alvin and Liverpool. According to a spokesperson for the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office, one person died in the Liverpool area, while 4 others suffered injuries that were not considered critical. At this time, officials are still working to determine the extent of all the damage. Meanwhile, the National Transportation Safety Board will soon send a team of American investigators to South Korea. They are set to help local authorities there determine what happened after a plane crashed and claimed the lives of all but 2 people on board. NBC's Steve Patterson has the latest on a string of aviation incidents over this last week.
Shocking new video showing the final moments of a deadly plane crash in South Korea. The passenger plane, which touched down without lowering its landing gear, skidded down a runway and erupted into flames as it collided with a wall. The Jeju Air flight was carrying 175 passengers and 6 crew from Bangkok to Muan. Only 2 survived. South Korean authorities suggesting a bird strike or poor weather may have caused the accident. Although former FAA and NTSB investigator Jeff Guzzetti says that does not appear to add up.
Bird strikes don't bring down airplanes like this, nor do they prevent landing gear from extending.
Emotions running high as passenger names were read to waiting family members. This distraught father saying his daughter was almost home. South Korea now observing a week of mourning. This accident just one of a string of aviation incidents in the last week. A KLM flight heading to Amsterdam was forced to make an emergency landing in Norway this weekend after what police called a hydraulic failure, while an Air Canada Express flight 2259 caught fire while landing in Halifax. And on Christmas Day, an Azerbaijan Airlines flight crashed in Kazakhstan. The president of Azerbaijan now blaming Russia for accidentally shooting down the plane, killing 38 people. Russian President Putin apologized for the crash, but stopped short of admitting fault.
NBC's Steve Patterson with that story. Linda Lavin, a Tony Award-winning stage and TV actress, has died. She passed away yesterday after complications from recently discovered lung cancer. She became a role model for working moms in the show Alice, where she played a widowed mother with a 12-year-old son working in a roadside diner. She was 87 years old. Those driving in and around Austin know a lot about local highways from I-35 to Mopac, but why do some of those roads have double names and are also called loops? Well, it turns out not every loop actually loops around a given area. Under the Texas Department of Transportation's highway designation glossary, yes, that exists, a state highway loop is a bypass that links 2 or more highways. Several highways in Austin have dual names. You might have seen those on signs, such as Loop 360, also being called the Capital of Texas Highway, and Loop 1, doubling as Mopac. An homage to the former Missouri Pacific Railroad. Loop 360 links Mopac, U.S. Highway 183, and Highway 290, while Mopac bridges the northern and southern segments of State Highway 45. A road in southeast Austin is closed right now because of a sinkhole. It's temporarily covered, though, after opening up on Saturday. Permanent work begins later today on part of Lakeshore Boulevard. This is all near Riverside Drive and Pleasant Valley Road. KXAN Sam Stark spoke about this happening with neighbors who live nearby.
Lakeshore Boulevard along Lady Bird Lake has welcomed many new developments over the last few years. And on Saturday afternoon, it got something else.
I went outside and yeah, there was a massive sinkhole right over there.
Anthony Margulies said when he went out for breakfast Saturday morning, the road was still intact. By the time he returned, a sinkhole 15 feet wide opened across the street from his apartment building.
It was very surprising to see that right outside the opening here. And I know that I had driven exactly over that spot, maybe an hour or two before the sinkhole opened up.
The city said the sinkhole, now covered, opened at around 1 p.m. Saturday. A spokesperson from the Watershed Protection Department said a private developer's contractor left a storm drainage pipe disconnected. The rain on Saturday could not flow through the storm drain system properly, leading to the road washing out and creating the hole. City staff did not name the private developer, but the sinkhole opened in front of this new development at Lakeshore Boulevard and Town Creek Drive.
So, yeah, to hear about the sinkhole is kind of a little scary and not shocking because there's so many construction everywhere.
As of Sunday afternoon, Austin water crews were inspecting drains and some roads were still closed.
I'm assuming the city is doing all the work now. Hopefully they do a good job and won't have to worry about this again.
Sam Stark, KXAN News.
Turning now to some news out of Williamson County. The city of Leander is moving to phase 4 water restrictions today. This comes as a wastewater treatment plant gets some upgrades. According to the city, the plant will be shut down until January 13th. Once that work is complete, Leander's water treatment capacity will increase by 12 million gallons of water per day. Now, so what does this mean for neighbors up there while the expansion is happening? The city says outdoor watering is not allowed, and it's also recommending that you turn off your irrigation system. You should also check your pipes for any kinds of leaks and minimize usage as much as you can. Also, only use water for essentials like bathing, drinking, or cleaning. Welcome back and a happy Monday afternoon. A live look right now over downtown Austin from atop the KXAN studio. A gorgeous day out there. You can see a few cranes hanging about in downtown Austin with all that development that's happening. It'd be a nice day to work outside for sure, but we're going to talk about what's in store for the week ahead and how the weather will look when we start a brand new year coming up in just a few moments. Now, there is a saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And few exemplify that more than this one man and his salon. Sam Reed introduces us to the man who says retirement is out of the question.
Inside of Zach's hair salon, ahead of the holidays and during the weeks welcoming the new year to follow. Stylists are hard at work.
I've been here for 30 years.
But there's one person in particular whose experience is unmatched.
He's remarkable.
And that's the owner, Zach Nasani.
They couldn't do without me. I'm Mr. Personality.
One might assume that an older gentleman such as himself would have retired by now. How old are you?
39. 98.
But you would be wrong, because at 98 years old, he'll tell you he's still going strong.
Steady on.
His vision, 2020.
I could see you. You're a good-looking woman.
Zach's zest for life, unmatched.
You enjoy people. That keeps you alive.
He dresses as sharp as his clients leave after their cuts.
Because it's a pleasure for me.
And it all started more than 75 years ago during World War II.
I'm a tough guy. Got a warm heart.
Having joined the Navy at the age of 17, the barber on the boat passed away. 200 sailors were in need of a classic cut.
I never cut hair before. I volunteered. The reason that is because my mother's brother was a barber in the old country. It's in our genes.
From there, his barber empire was built.
I had people follow me for over 50 years.
Having serviced all around Rhode Island, he opened this place 25 years ago. His stylists have stayed.
He's my inspiration. I want to be like him when I grow up.
And customers, for the most part,
I want to be 98 and be Zach.
Alike.
My clients passed away. I outlived them.
He's even inspired his two sons, who work here alongside him.
It's a miracle. It's just that I get to be with them.
And the opportunity to do so isn't something he takes for granted.
It's a gift from God.
Having lost his wife 2 years ago, this job and the people he comes into contact with have been a saving grace. He says over the years, he's learned a lot from people propped in his chair that he hopes keeps turning for years to come.
Been cutting their hair so long, you know their life story. They always tell me, I'm glad you're still alive.
Wow. I mean, my gosh, 98 years old?
Yeah.
He looks incredible.
He really does. My grandma, who's about 94 now, you know, she is still kicking as well, you know. So you can see that want, that will, that saying, I can make this happen.
Yeah.
And they make it happen.
And he feels great, and he's going to keep working and doing it. More power to him.
More power to him.
I hope I'm like that, too, when I get to be that old.
I love to see it. Congratulations, you know, still going strong. Hey, you know, we're back here at home. We've been talking about the heat. We've been talking about the dry conditions. And the Texas A&M Fire Wildfire, let me try that again. The Texas A&M Forest Center, that's what I want to say, talked about us seeing the wildfire danger for today. And as you can see, that's mostly out towards the hill country, Mason into San Saba, Llano, and Gillespie County. Texas A&M Forest Service has now issued that as an extreme condition for Mason itself and very high for the surrounding areas because of the dry air that's been settling in, because of the drier conditions, because of the windier conditions as well, as that dry line moves over across Central Texas. Let's take a look. That red flag warning, that's also in effect for San Saba, Mason, Llano, and Gillespie County because of the strong winds, because of the humidity, and that extends all the way out towards the west. Take a look at your current relative humidity at this point. Down in the single digits in Gillespie County and pretty close in Llano, Mason, and San Saba at this point. And of course the winds, so they've been picking up as well. 28-mile-per-hour wind gusts, the same out towards Mason, and you see out towards San Saba. It's pretty much just all of this one area that continues to see some pretty strong winds. The Llano one not reporting, which is why it's not coming in at this point. But, you know, I just want you guys to be prepared. Excuse me, be aware if you're going to be within any of that area. Don't throw your cigarette butts out the car and avoid doing anything that may spark a fire because it's very easy for the fires to spread today. We look back here within Central Texas. There's not a cloud in the sky at this point. That's going to continue with us through tonight. And we have a front that's going to come in and drive our temperatures back down into the 40s. It was chilly this morning, and we're expecting a chilly morning tomorrow as well. There's the front. It's expected to push through, and we do anticipate for some cooler air to filter in, not only for today, but for tomorrow as well. Look at what happens as we get out towards midnight tomorrow. 40s out there. Winds are still going to be calm. Look at Wednesday morning, down into the 30s for many spots, but still no freezing in the metro at 40 degrees. We're looking at 39 in Bastrop, 39 in LaGrange, 39 in Flatonia as well. And then as we look into the new year, temperatures should be at about 61 degrees to ring in 2025, the very first day of the new year. Rain chances do pick up as we get into Saturday and Sunday. Not as much on Saturday itself, but as we get into Sunday early in the morning, there's the rain chances that pick up just ahead of that next front that's expected to come in. So your 7-day forecast goes like this. A record-breaking day for today. 66 as we get into Tuesday, 61 on Wednesday, 64 on Thursday. By Friday and Saturday, mid-60s with a chance of rain on Sunday.
It was a big year, not just in politics, but also pop culture. To name just a few of the year's biggest highlights, and we don't have time to talk about all of them, but here's a few. Taylor Swift dropped her album, The Tortured Poets Department. Meanwhile, Beyonce stamped her mark in country and Americana music with her album, Cowboy Carter. And the summer was, of course, taken over by the Paris Olympics. We remember that very well here at KXAN. And the year closed out with the box office smash, Wicked. You know, this year, Freddie, I don't think I watched more Olympics than I have this time ever. It was so much fun. I was so dialed in. It brought me such joy. And so I remember that back really fondly, too.
I do. I think the biggest thing I remember from the Olympics, Celine Dion.
Oh my gosh!
Performing,
yes. And there were so many moments like that. That was incredible.
That moment to me will always be something I will always remember because of the movie that had come out and because of the struggles she had gone through.
Everything she did, to get up there and sing on the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
My gosh.
And then of course all the Olympians, and we're proud of all the Texans that were out there that were part of this. And then, as you mentioned, not only that, but you had Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Brat Summer.
That too.
Chapel Roan at ACL.
Think about that, yeah.
There was a lot. I mean, it was the summer of the girls.
Honestly,
as
all
they
the pop girls, they were there. We were here for it.
Yeah, and then we had so many new artists too. Shabuzi doing some really great things. Yeah. Teddy Swims, Benson Boone. Oh man, music.
We could go on about this too. I mean,
I'm all about
pop
music.
Culture happy hour over here.
This is really exciting. But there's something else that I want to show you, which is our temperatures for tonight. I know we've been talking a lot about that red flag warning that's in effect for today. Let's talk about something a little more what we should be happier for, which is it's going to be nice and cool tonight. Down to about 47 degrees, with tomorrow, the last day of the year, 66 degrees, which is just a couple of degrees above average. So that's good news. 7-day forecast shows that we'll get closer and closer to average as we get into Wednesday, and then turn around and go right back up as we get Sunday into Monday. The rain chances pick up, and we have that next front that'll come in, taking our temperatures down.
The last day of the year tomorrow. How can that be?
2024, it was nice knowing you.
2025, hello. All right, everybody, we're going to say goodbye now, though, for KXAN News at noon. We'll see you back here in about 30 minutes with another update. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care.